How's it going, everybody? It's Ben from the Ben and Bev channel. Today we're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes of Marvel's Hawkeye series, available today on Disney+. So in the first episode alone, there's actually a lot to unpack with this series, as we have to introduce the Kate Bishop character played by Hailee Steinfield, as well as bring us up to date on where exactly Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye is and how he's doing since the events of Avengers Endgame. And
not well is the short answer.
But the show actually rolls out by showing us a scene from 2012 when the Chitauri and Loki invaded New York. We see Kate Bishop as a little girl in a high-rise building on the day, which is actually a really cool backstory as to why she's influenced by Hawkeye. Unbeknownst to him, he actually directly saved her life that day. When we move to present day, it begins to show us Hawkeye's life, and what he's been up to is he's taking his kids to New York City during the Christmas season with the big Christmas trees and the whole atmosphere down there. They even catch a Broadway show, which at the moment is the Rogers Avengers musical that we saw in the trailer, which, as you can imagine, he's not that big of a fan of, as it kind of makes light and a little bit of joke and fun of the events that were an absolute tragedy for him. We also get to see how time has affected him through all these movies, as he looks over his shoulder very anxiously the whole time he's in the theater. It's also interesting, as you notice, there's a hearing aid in one ear. There's actually a scene where they ask what happens, and it shows all the different times he's been around explosions throughout all of the MCU movies. I thought that was a pretty funny joke. Though his story is pretty tragic, it's really touching to see the way he wants to interact with his kids and how he just wants to be viewed as a hero by somebody, and he's trying to do whatever he can to give them a perfect Christmas, despite the fact that this stolen Ronin suit, which is kind of the centerpiece of the conflict
For these episodes so far.
and despite being a totem of Clint's dark past, it also has a special link to the backstory of the Kate Bishop character. She comes from a wealthy background. There's this black market auction that goes on in the first episode where the suit goes on sale, and that's how it gets stolen. And I'm trying not to give away too much here, even though a lot of it is in the trailer. A lot of the gags, jokes, explosions, and just the general surprise of what's going on is what actually makes these episodes so adventurous. So if I go too into detail, I'm going to probably ruin some things for you, and I think it definitely deter the viewing. The present day Kate Bishop storyline involves her with her upper class family trying to fit in after she's been expelled from school for being involved in the prank. Her mom, played by Vera Farmiga, is a very interesting character. You can't really get a good read on her or her new husband. You can't really get a good read on any of the upper class people. They all seem like they're ready to stab each other in the back, as they all have various secrets and alternate powers and ulterior motives lying underneath the surface. Something that Kate keeps digging into head on and keeps putting herself into danger despite everything. That kind of pretty much summarizes where we're at when it comes to story without giving away too much. And when it comes to tone, I think this actually delivers really well. When the show needs to be serious, it is serious, and when the show needs to be fun, it is fun. All of the fight scenes are handled with a sense of either Kingsman intensity or MCU joy, and sometimes a perfect marriage of both, especially with all the Christmas scenery in the background. There's also a really great fight scene Kate Bishop has really early on in that first episode that involves a basement chamber and a wine cellar.
Absolutely love that fight.
And the goofy group of Russian mafia guys add a really funny dynamic, very similar to the Goon in the second Ant-Man movie. A fun sense of chase for our characters as they try and figure out who exactly is really in control of everybody that's trying to get to this Ronin suit, and why exactly it ended up in that black market in the first place. I want to bring up that I'm not really sure how many of these episodes we're going to be getting, but these episodes are a lot longer than the average for the MCU shows so far.
A lot of the episodes have wavered between 35 and 45 minutes, and both of these ones were consistently at 48 to 50.
And provided jaw-dropping action and comedy throughout the whole sequence. Also love the driving aspect of the season that Clint has to make it home in time for Christmas because he promised his daughter that he'd be there. I think that's a really fun angle to the show that actually makes it a Christmas show if you think about it. I mean, everything about it has Christmas elements.
Maybe we'll be rewatching Hawkeye on Thanksgiving next year.
So my expectations for the show are about in the middle, and I will say it is the least straying from the MCU formula so far. There hasn't been a big CGI battle yet.
Or I guess there was technically.
A lot of crazy action, plot twists, and backstabbing, laced with some pretty solid comedy and one-liners throughout. We haven't really had a show that possesses the basic MCU energy yet, and this one's doing it in a really different way. The Christmas aspect is definitely adding a different angle to it. Whether that's
A cheap way to get a new angle or not is up to you to decide.
But I also really like that we're beginning to get into that grimy, dark, seedy underworld of New York that crawls all the way up to the top of the upper class. Very similar to Daredevil, and I can definitely see him popping up. And for sure, definitely could see Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin popping up the next couple episodes of this. I know it's just a rumor for now, and it's not guaranteed, but I would just
Love to see that. I really need to see Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio in the show. They would fit in perfectly.
What did you guys think of the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye's holiday special? Let us know in the comments below. We'll see you guys next time. Ben and Bev, out.